What's up, brilliant coders? It's your girl, Jillian, and welcome back to the Code Zone and video 2 of Code Along. Our first video covered how to create and draw basic shapes and add colors and borders to them. In video 2, we'll use those same skills we learned to code an art piece focused on environmental justice. So here's my very own art piece that I made with code to represent my support of the environmental justice movement. Huh? What's that? Oh, you want to make something just like it? Say less, I got you, because this is the art we'll be learning how to make in this video. So as you can see, this is a simple depiction of nature using the shapes we learned about in the last video, as well as a couple more advanced shapes we will learn how to draw today. But before we get started, just a quick reminder about working in P5.js. So in the last video, we talked about thinking of your canvas the same way you would a sketch pad. That's still the same, except we're gonna get a little bit more specific in this video. Moving forward, we're gonna think about our canvas like it's a piece of grid paper. Now on your grid paper, the columns going from left to right represent your x-axis. And the rows going from top to bottom represent your y-axis. Now there is a small difference in where the grid starts in comparison to where you normally would start your grid. Normally, one would think that x equals 0 and y equals 0 starts at the bottom left-hand side of the grid. But in our canvas, the default setting of the x and y coordinates are at the top left side of our grid. I know it might seem a bit confusing at first, but with some effort, you'll start to remember that in no time. It's kind of like going to a different country and realizing that people are driving on the other side of the road. It might be counterintuitive at first, but you'll realize that the rules are easy to follow once you start driving. Now, it's helpful to remember that the size of our canvas is 400 by 400. It's a square, meaning it's equal lengths on all sides. The number in the first spot represents the width, x coordinate of the canvas, and the second spot is the height, the y coordinate. So if I wanted to place a shape right in the center, I would enter x equals 200 and y equals 200. Got it? We're ready to start drawing now. Okay, first we'll add a light blue background to the canvas to represent the sky. And what's a sky without the sun? So we'll start inside our draw function and add our sun to the background. But I want it centered on the top left side of the canvas. To do this, I'm going to label first sun, then determine the x and y coordinates. To add a comment or label the parts of your drawing, type \\, and then the name of the part you're drawing. Now let's set the position of the circle to the top left of our canvas. We'll make the x and y values 100. And I want to make the perfect circle, so the width and height will also be 100. Okay, so we'll want to color the sun now. So let's change the color of the circle from white to yellow. And you know, we want the sun to pop a little bit. So we'll add a border around the circle to be orange with a thickness of 2. Okay, the sun is looking fire, pun intended. Next, we're going to add some clouds. Not those kind of clouds. That's more like it. Okay, so I'm going to label clouds below my sun, and I'm going to make 3 of them. I'm going to make the first one white, so ellipse 60, 200, 150. I'm going to make the second light gray, ellipse 100, 230, 100, 80. And I'll make the third cloud gray. You can do whatever you'd like though. I just colored mine differently to practice color variation. Ellipse 140, 200, 40, and 50. I'm gonna skip the border on the clouds for now. And just like that, we have a sun and 3 clouds below with a light blue background. That feels so nice. Oh yeah. Perfect day to enjoy an eco-friendly music festival, don't you think? So in the reference art we looked at together earlier, there's a center line. We're now gonna create that center line. To do that, we'll go below my background function and label center line. I want the border to be beige and the thickness to be 2. The line function looks like this: line x1, y1, x2, y2. Since the width of the canvas is 400, My x1 will be 200 and y1 will be 0. The second point will be at the bottom of the canvas. So x2 is 200 and y2 will be the height of the page, which is 400. Now we have our first line on our canvas that splits the page in half. Now remember, if you ever forget the arguments you need for the line or any of the shapes and coloring skills we learned, just check the cheat sheet. Now let's take it a step further and create a treetop. But first, let me introduce you to the mother of trees, Wangari Maathai. Wangari was a Kenyan environmentalist who founded the Green Belt movement, a mass reforestation effort that placed as much emphasis on the environment as it did women's rights and community development. She was an amazing example of an intersectional environmentalist and won the Nobel Peace Prize for her work. I mean, she was truly the GOAT. Rest in power, Wangari. Let's go back to trying to create our treetop. Now, I want the tree to have 4 levels, so let's do this together step by step. We'll represent the tree using triangles, and the placement of the points on a triangle goes in circle motion, whether it is clockwise or counterclockwise. Let's label treetop below clouds. Now, I'm gonna make it a green triangle with no border, but feel free to experiment with borders here. Now we're going to place the triangle in the middle of the right-hand side of the canvas. The top of the point of the triangle will be at x1 equals 300 and y1 equals 200. Then the second point, x2 equals 250 and y2 equals 250. And the last point of the triangle will be at x3 equals 350 and y3 equals 250. Yes, you did that! We now have a green triangle. Let's add some more top layers. And once we do, it'll look like those tall ponderosa pine trees in Yosemite National Park. Now I'm going to copy the treetop section from my code and paste it below the first one. And I will paste 2 more copies below the current copies so that I will have a total of 3 copies of my treetop section. Since I want to add to the top part of the tree, I will have to change the y values in our triangle function. Now I still want the treetops to touch in the middle, so I will adjust the y values by subtracting 25. That will move each treetop up, creating our treetops. Okay, so now we have a 4-level treetop, but no tree trunk. So it's looking a lot like a bunch of floating UFO bushes hanging out in the sky right now. Don't sweat it. We can fix it by drawing a tree trunk. So to add a trunk to our tree, we'll use a rectangle. Let's label trunk after our last treetop copy. I'm going to make the trunk brown with a dark brown border, and the thickness will be 2. But you can try out different shades of brown and border thickness if you like. I want the trunk to be aligned with the center of the treetops, but the top of the trunk to be below the last treetop. We can use an X of 290 and a Y of 250, which will put the trunk right below our last treetop. I also want the width of the trunk to be 20 and the height to be 150, because 150 is the remaining space between the bottom of the treetop and the bottom of the canvas. Let's also try rounding the corners at 2. Nice, it's looking more like a tree now, so that's an improvement. Now for the final touches. I want to add 2 more features to our drawing using the rectangle function. I want to put our grass on the bottom of the canvas, but on the right-hand side, just below my tree. I'm going to label grass below my trunk drawing. It will be green with no border and have a height of 10. We now have grass below our tree. Also, can I just say, Heike, you are doing a great job.
Yes!
And now the last thing I want to do is change the background color of the right side of the canvas. Let's go to the space in our code above our treetop and add our rect function here. I want to fill half of the space, but from the center line all the way to the edge of the right-hand side of the canvas. Awesome, that looks great! Okay, now we have used the rect function to add a trunk. create grass, and even change half of the background to our canvas. And you thought rectangles weren't gonna be important, didn't you? Now, the last thing I want to add to our art piece is text with an environmental justice message. So to add text to the canvas, you can use a function called text. Text is very similar to the other functions you have used so far. Instead, it allows us to pass in variables. Variables are pieces of code that store data. The name of the variable tells you what type of information it is. Variables start with let or const, followed by an equal sign, then the information you want to store. Since we are writing text, the message has to be within quotations, just like when we write in what colors we want for the shapes and background. Now, I want to store a caption for the air above on the left side of the canvas. So I will call my variable air message and write in the message that I want. I'm gonna write nurture nature for all, but feel free to write a message that's important to you. Now, I want the text color to be white, so I can use fill. Now, to write the text on the canvas, the first value for the text function is the message you want to write. So I will paste in air message. The next 4 values represent the location, width, and height of the text area. Now, once you've written your environmental justice message, the last thing you have to do is sit back and admire your hard work. Oh my gosh, it looks so good! Okay, so that was a marathon. Well, a mental marathon. I don't actually like running. I'm more of a walk slowly and enjoy the views kind of gal. If you know, you know. But regardless of how you connect with nature, it's important to remember that we all hold a responsibility to making sure that the environment is safe for each and every one of us for generations to come. Black Girls Code continues to build pathways for young women of color in the tech industry through free workshops and summer coding camps. I am so hyped to introduce you to 2 Black Girls Code students who attended the 2022 Black Art Through JavaScript Summer Camp. In Black Art Through JavaScript, young girls spent a few days learning how to code, digital art, and websites. It's the summer camp of a coder's dream. Yes, it's actually a camp, and there's plenty of fun involved. Let's talk to them. Hey, Sonae and Alyssa.
Hi.
So I would love to learn a little bit more about you both. So introduce yourself, tell us your age, and how long you've been a part of Black Girls Code.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. I'm 15 years old, and I've been with Black Girls Code for 1 year.
Hi, my name is Sonae, and I am 17 years old, and I have been in Black Girls Code for 2 years.
So Sonae, I actually got to take a look at your art. So tell me what inspired it.
Well, for my self-portrait, it inspired me because of how I am mixed, and it took a few times to find my right skin color. And when I made my face, it was super unique because I have like a cutie mark, and it was super hard to make that. And the background.
Yeah, so I noticed that your background was very bright. So are there like specific colors you like to use for your art?
I like to use purples, some neon yellows, definitely blue.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I honestly really loved your art, so great job.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Alyssa, so again, I got to see your art as well. So tell me what inspired yours.
I had just so much ideas, and then I looked around and everyone else's was just, unique. That is what inspired me. I used maroon. I used a different color for my background. I had a blue shirt on that day.
Beautiful. Well, I loved your art as well. So coders, there are so many resources for tech lovers like us. So would you both have any recommendations you'd like to tell?
Just make friends, have fun, and pay attention.
Oh yes,
It'll help. It'll help, and ask your
questions.
Yeah, questions that you have, because it will definitely help.
You don't want to be shy and say, "Oh, I just want to hide in the back of this corner." Like, the teachers want you to ask questions because that's what they're there for. And most of all, have fun, be kind, and have fun coding.
Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And again, I loved your art. Great job on these, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
To find more opportunities to learn how to code, visit the Black Girls Code website. Until next time, stay cute and stay coding.